we're just connecting up. So we'll just talk. It takes a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's very I feel you, you know. Um you
Yeah,
good?
you the thing that you guys are doing in terms of being a platform, uh, a vehicle, or creating a vehicle. Uh, I often tell myself that it's part of the infrastructure of love.
Yeah. Man, this is like a great this is you got your phone set? Yeah. Uh yeah, what you're saying, like oh man, I can't, there's so much coming in right now. But people are starting to come in. It's gonna take another minute or so. But like I was saying, I've got this list, and I haven't ever written it down, but I have this list of people that I've wanted to have on the show, and you're one of them. So whenever because you know, whenever I first saw your energy, which I bet you goes back about 2 years, maybe even longer. But I remember when you came in and started posting in the Soulogy group, and I don't know, there was just something that, there's just that something you can't explain, and it's like, that's a brother, that's a kindred. There's something going on, and a lot of these names that are on this unwritten list are people that don't put themselves out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying they're kind of like, they're like the infrastructure of that love grid you're talking about, that doesn't draw a lot of attention, nor do they need it. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very high integrity frequency, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Nobility, dignity, and especially, and maybe this is why it hasn't happened till now, because I don't know about you, maybe we could talk about this, but there seems to be a no bullshit kind of masculine uh, power, frequency, whatever, that seems to be coming up. And it's unlike the traditional masculine power. It's this kingly kind of frequency. And I'm not saying I have it. I'm just saying I
got it.
look at you, I look at you, and I just I'm like, dude, this guy's like totally plugged in and lit. So I'm really happy that you're here. I'm honored to be sharing space with you. I'm on the verge of tears talking to you, and that can only be one thing. So, welcome to the show, and thank you for all your contributions in the
Much
Soulogy.
much love to you, Todd.
Yeah,
Like I say, I just want to, give a bow to you and Morgan, and just emphasize how deeply I feel and appreciate, especially during this this uh, this time where I feel like our integrity, the integrity of being who you are, is being exposed and tested.
yeah,
Uh, but being that quiet, calm, listening, observing, reflecting, uh, it's just
yeah,
critical right now
yeah,
to have a
yeah,
space that uh, can be a kind of meeting place, or a kind of place of zero pointing the energies that have been set up under the old system to continually clash and emphasize the competitiveness
yeah,
instead of our unity and cooperation. So you know
yeah,
you know what I mean. As a
yeah.
big
I
system
do.
designed to keep pulling our energy into the struggle.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love to watch when I have time. From time to time, I love to watch comedians. Sometimes just to, like get away from all the the internal dialogue, or, the energy that's just like, hitting us like tsunamis and stuff. But I was watching Chris Rock the other day, and he was talking specifically about relationships, but it to me it applied to everything, and it applies to what you're saying. And he said there's three things that need to stop, and I don't even remember what the second and third one were. But the first thing he said was, and he was talking about men and women in a relationship, but like I said, to me, it was universal. And he said, the competition has to stop. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I guess in that moment, I thought about all the effects in relationships of any kind and connections of any kind. If you take that out, what happens? It's like a whole new world. And I think that's what you're saying and what you exhibit and exude. I wrote a post yesterday or the day before about our friend, Ryan, and I can't even remember his last name, Ryan Hill. and I was moved to write that post, and I could have very well put your name on it and a handful of other brothers I can think of. This is what I was talking about when we started this show, about what I'm seeing happening. And maybe that's why you're coming onto the show now. But, the words that came to my mind were dignity, integrity, nobility, courage, love, and this command of faith and love and truth. And something about the energy that you carry and the energy that he carries that you haven't really seen, because the masculines tended, the masculine that tended to be put out there, and let's just say kind of pushed out there, has been this alpha male, I'm going to kick your ass and all that, the warrior. But with y'all, you have this silent, virtually silent, still presence that we all have, but that hasn't been encouraged. And it's almost like the last leg of this internal, therefore external, divine union occurring within us. And it's just like, I'm in awe of it. So I sat with him for a bit a couple of days ago. Now I sit with you in it's the same energy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so much in that, Todd, because the polarities, it's like the yin and yang in the Taoist sense. The polarities are complementary from the standpoint of the big picture. If we get down into the minutia, then and into the fragmentation, the appearance of fragmentation, the appearance of so many divisions and conflicts, it seems that things are in real tough conflict. But when we step back, or when we step in to that reclaiming of both aspects of our appearance, the masculine and the feminine, and integrating those into the whole that it is. That's why I say I really look at the relationship you and Morgan have. And many, people who have been doing the work and found, companionship, that wholeness comes. And with me, my masculine energy was brought forth by feminine energy. That's just the way it is.
That's right.
They gave birth to me, and they helped me regenerate and rebirth. So, I was inspired by lots of women. In fact, my moniker, Poppa, was a moniker or nickname given to me by my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. And I mean, before I could walk, really, that's the only name I really knew. But it was because and so she had a lot of masculine energy, but she was a woman and she was feminine, and she was situated in a patriarchy where she was judged feminine. You know, that was the projection that so many women that's her identity instead of fullness, but she asserted her fullness. But anyway, just the point being that I think because I've listened to a lot of brothers that I highly respect, and just like you key in on that balance, on that important part of this journey that we have to engage to do the dance, you know, and not and in a deep sense, not in the sense of the stereotypes or the constructs of what a man is supposed to be and what a woman is supposed to be, or the different roles, but from a heart center, from the center of masculine care as related to or engaged with and in support of feminine care and nurturing. And so that deal is just we coming into that wholeness, you know, and that is our I feel like is our honor in that sense. You know, if there's any sense of, it's just in sense of alignment. So
Yeah. Hear, hear. Halla effing Luya.
and that
Yeah.
that's a wonderful, it's wonderful to be engaged and enthusiastic and in gratitude for these experiences, for the experience of life, you know, and witnessing.
Yeah. The different shades of it too, like you know, the reformation of the masculine and the feminine connection, and then now, like in talking to you, you know, something's becoming more visible, which is the reframing of the masculine to masculine connection. Like that's refreshing. This is refreshing. Talking to my friend 2 days ago was refreshing. To have a heart expansion that you feel in your bones that has been rare, if at all, from, you know, a masculine to masculine connection, right? I mean, this to me is a it's an omen. It's a sign. It's a you know, a guidepost on the road that we're sharing. I mean, it's a good sign.
Yeah, certainly.
Because I think we would often think, and I think there's probably an argument for this, but obviously we know that the feminine energy in all of us has been suppressed. And so that's obvious in the collective story, or the story that we've been told, or whatever. But if you really think about it, even beyond that, if you had to break down, let's say, the two gender frequencies even more into subsets and, you know, subdivisions, what about the true masculine power that I'm talking about, that I see in you, that I see in my friend Ryan? That's been suppressed. That wasn't encouraged at all. And I don't know how many, you know, it took me 2, 3, 4 years when I was a kid, because I had a brother, an older brother, who encouraged me to step into that, and not to his fault, but I'm just saying of the program, to step into the distorted masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Because up to that point, I got picked on because I was considered too sensitive or too soft, and then I turned. But yeah, to be able to have that coming to the surface in myself and in my brothers and in the collective is a huge, I see it as a huge compliment to what we've, to the higher ground that the feminine's carved out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they laid down the gauntlet, man.
yeah,
They laid down the gauntlet.
tell
I
me about it.
mean, yeah. So, in the sense that, you know, and it's only natural.
Yeah.
It's only by divine predestination or the will that we exist within, that, you know, the emergence of a deeper identity instead of the role of the woman,
Yeah.
the role that uh, it's the role started in nature, but then we, with our creative minds, sometimes mischiefully creative, started to shape it or misshape it, you know, misshape the feminine, and and to my thought, misjudge the masculine in the sense of looking out into the animal kingdom and saying, "Oh, that's my role model," you know, that identifying masculine as almost always dominant, and the need for identity, my identity as a male or man, to fit that role, fit that model, instead of looking within and understanding that not the world out there that we project or that we interpret, but what's coming from the heart center. You know, being able to uh, recognize identity not in terms of being an alpha male or apex predator or um, a king or a tyrant or a ruler or uh, a strong man, but being able to look within and see the archetypal. And when I say archetype, I'm not just talking about those the the hero archetypes, but what's deep within, what you call the I am. You know, the I am, the soul.
Yeah.
But I've heard you refer to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's
looking within,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
a, I see it kind of like, and of course words are futile, you know, but like you discover, because I've been fortunate enough, and as everybody knows, because we're pretty open, Morgan and I, but so I've been able to, uh, you know, come to a lot of revelation through the physical embodiment or experience. So I see it sometimes like you get to a certain point, which has occurred in my life before, but I just didn't see it as clearly until I'm having this experience with the divine feminine aspect in the flesh, right? I mean, and so you have a little more depth or something, and so you end up waking up and understand that you're in this container that is her, right? And then now in some type of cosmic equation that's beyond my comprehension as from my human aspect, there's this evolution or rebirthing or something going on where all of a sudden it's as if that it's you know, the container, we're in the field, and then the container is this emerging masculine, and then it will start again, right? Like I think of this, of what you were saying, and Morgan sent me a video from YouTube about 6 months ago, and so there's this lioness in the, you know, in Africa or wherever, and she's laying on like a road, just having a nap, and so the lion, and the camera's on the lion, and he's walking, like creeping up, like he's going to attack something, right? And then you see that she's just having a nap in the middle of the road in the middle of the afternoon. And so he walks up to her and he does his paw like that, and she about bites his head off. And then the camera goes back to the masculine, the lion, and he's literally whimpering like a baby as she ignores him. And I think as I was listening to you, that regardless of the representation or the expressiveness or whatever of this distorted power that was personified, if you really think about it, in most of our lives, and you trace things back, when the rubber meets the road, there was grandma, there was an auntie, there was the feminine still was the container,
A perfect mirrors of our being. Yeah. So we're in a real creative moment. Really creative moment. All of the destruction and chaos and stuff like that, that generates because of the uncertainty, because it throws us back into, to me, it's not fragmentation. It's we getting thrown back into the stew. It's the stew that's boiling, but it's a creative moment, the minds and the hearts and those things that are being uploaded, not so much downloaded, but uploaded from the heart center. And the courage, the presence of, men, women, the presence of consciousness, manifesting, expressing, the unified reality of why we are here. Like they say, from the mouth of babes, and pre-verbal, really pre-embodiment, but we got it coming from all angles, because that's our reason for being here. Consciousness, compassionate consciousness, creative consciousness, manifesting in earth.
Yeah.
And if we were to break it into time factors, the way I look at it is that, the time is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's time to walk the talk.
Oh yeah.
Have you always been this way?
When?
I mean,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of,
5 minutes ago.
I used to ask people back in the day, I mean, I'm going back 1,000 shows or so, but for the first couple of thousand, I would always ask people, when did you wake up? And then one day I had this young lady on, she couldn't have been 25. And she said, this morning, she said this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, you're right. So you're right. It's kind of a moot question.
It's loaded, because and I've heard you speak on it a lot of times, is that and one of your framings is that the human is the hero. And one of my mentors in terms of understanding the human condition, aside from the religious traditions, but it was Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
Like I say, boy, I wish I would have been taught Joseph Campbell.
I love Joseph
in kindergarten.
Yeah.
The understanding, he was explaining the fairy tales, not just giving us the fairy tales that incited the imagination, and that let us know that magical things could happen, but he was digging down into the essence of those stories that we project, and showing that oneness, showing that unity of consciousness, of heart, of being that shows up in 1,000 different faces.
Yeah.
You know, and shows those journeys and struggles, the ugliness that precedes the beauty.
Exactly.
You know,
The abyss, the holy womb, the holy darkness. And I love Joseph Campbell. I discovered him in my early 20s, and Power of Myth. I love that book, The Power of Myth. It's also a very easy read, and also his series that he did in regard to it with Bill Moyers, which you can find on YouTube. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, you're right. And I hadn't thought about this, but now that I think about it, because there's the obvious attributes of his writings, but maybe something that I just picked up on that you made reference to is how he dissected with purpose the revelations of the ugliness with beauty, right? And I think that's that, you know, you would think that the hero's journey would be the climax of, you know, redemption or you know, ascension or whatever. But I'm sitting here talking to you thinking about the value of the shadow, the value of the chaos, and how, you know, that old saying, I'm best under pressure when my back's to the wall.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason that's probably in all of us. That's the almost like the point of conception.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that. One stranger I met on my journey. I was delinquent and ended up in a facility,
I've been there.
and I didn't fit in. I wasn't fitting in. So I ended up in a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And there was this old dude. I was in San Antonio, and there were mostly Hispanics, and in this fork in the road, the dominant language was Spanish. But there was this one white guy that was there. I was one of the few black guys that were in this environment. But this old white guy, and he's the one that introduced me to the I Ching and the concept of duality as a unity, the light and the dark, that shadow, and how in the darkest of dark, there's always that point of light.
Yeah.
And in the brightest, most brilliant light, there's always a point of darkness that give birth. There's seed that give motion or the appearance of motion. It's already happened, but as it appears, as it rolls around. And so, yeah, we are brought to light through the darkness, you know. So
yeah, no doubt. And I love what you said about
that's one reason why I'm not in a panic about all of the chaos I see. Because been there, done that.
Yeah. Why would it be any different for the collective than it's been for us? Couple of comments. One, it's amazing, and this is actually, I think, a microcosm example of what you just said, but it's amazing how when you're in an environment such as you were, and I've been in, and many others have, if not all of us in some way or another, energetically, how those things come out, like you getting the I Ching
Hmm.
or other things coming, which is that little pinpoint of light in
That
what
point
seems
of
to
light,
be the
exactly.
darkness. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. And I love what you said too. I've always, I started really diving into this stuff in my early 20s and read voraciously for well over 10 years. And one of the things I always had kind of I couldn't come into full alignment with was kind of the Far Eastern uh, theme, or in part, which would be, you know, almost like, to me, it was almost nihilistic. It was like, oh well, this is nothing matters, everything's nothing, and like, and I kept saying to myself, there's a reason that I'm conscious here.
Hmm.
There's a reason that I'm here, and it has to do with that whole non-duality uh, stream of thought. And I'm not saying anything's right or wrong. I'm just making a comment.
Yeah.
But there's something that I learned when I reawoke 10 years ago. And that was, the universe kept showing me the mastery of its paradoxical teaching.
Hmm.
And so to me, there's nothing more paradoxical and more meaningful that I still don't understand myself, in that we are in a duality trying to move into a, whatever it may be, a trinity energy or not, but a non-duality. When in fact, everything has the yin and yang. Everything has what we might call the light and the dark, or the negative and the positive, or you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, it's always there. And so it's one of those things that I look at and I marvel, like, there is such beauty in that. But you said it, to be in, to bring unity to the duality of your, let's say, of your personal field, to find the unity, to merge until, which we think, oh, okay, well, then I get to nirvana, then I get to heaven. But no, it's just, you just incubated, and then gestated, and then as you get to that point of bringing unity into duality, or from duality, you get shot out of the birth canal again, and it all starts over.
Hmm.
So,
Awesome.
you know, how long you been in Austin?
I've been in Austin about 18 years.
Mm,
I'm a workaholic. That's my vice and distraction, because uh, I've been uh, what the Sufis call reliant on means, and that is that, okay. What is apparent? What does looks like the cause?
yeah.
You know, uh, I gotta work to eat. That practicality, the means, but not the miracles. But it's all a miracle. But I'm just saying, I work a lot because the old masculine energy, or expression of masculine energy, distorted in a lot of regards, was proof of being through doing.
Mm-hmm.
you know and the your presence was measured by your doing, and from a masculine standpoint,
Right.
by aggression, forging, you know, uh, fighting, struggling, winning the bread. All those are honorable things, but the value given to uh, just being, if you, like they say, I like that old biblical saying, what good if you win the whole world and lose your soul?
Yeah.
What good? You know, and it that always comes home to me.
Yeah.
And Joseph Campbell's stories and a lot of just observation of appearances out there, you
Yeah.
know, like the Emperor's New Clothes and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, I've been in Austin like 18 years.
Where were you?
I
Where were
was
you?
drawn to this place because of the creative energy
Yeah.
that I sense from way away.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, were
Really,
you born,
really,
were you from Texas originally?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Port Arthur,
Port Arthur,
yeah,
Janis Joplin, UGK,
yeah,
UGK.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
yeah. I've been away from there for quite a while, but uh, Austin, the creative energy,
Yeah.
the artists,
The weirdness.
the weirdness,
Yeah.
all of this weirdness here is just it gets me ready.
It's
But
interesting because it's a replica of the earth, if you think about it, because there's all different um I mean, there's all different representations in the physical. And we're talking culture, countries, creed, um, you know,
yeah,
things that people are into. I mean, it's so cool because, of course, the stereotypical example would be walking into Stubbs and seeing a redneck standing next to a hippie, right? Uh,
yeah.
I just
Willie
had,
Nelson.
yeah, exactly. Stevie Ray, I mean,
Yeah.
uh, I just watched the magnificent documentary on Daniel Johnston. And
Hmm.
that's, you talk about a miracle. My
Hmm.
homeboy down in Houston is he was his manager, his road manager, and he still manages his merchandise and stuff. But to see that story was just mind blowing. I watched it with my 19-year-old daughter. She came to see me, but I'm sitting here talking to you, and I had this memory because you brought up San Antonio, and it was one of them, and it was again in retrospect. Not at the time did I really appreciate it, but back in the late 80s, I did a lot of business because I was in Corpus Christi, but I ran pretty much everything from, say, Del Rio to maybe Victoria and South. So I traveled in my car a lot and made calls, made sales calls, and did jobs and so on. So I ended up going to San Antonio one day it would have been like the southeast side, older neighborhood. And I go in to give an estimate, and it was a beautiful, beautiful black lady. I thought she was about maybe like late 60s, early 70s. And this just this beautiful man that was her son, right, who looked to be like 50, you know. I mean, I'm 60 now, and he looked better than me by far. So, we did our business, and she started to tell me the story about how I believe it was her grandmother or grandfather who had actually been sold in San Antonio at the main square,
Hmm.
pre-Civil War.
Yeah.
And so it was this whole long, I'm really a history buff, so it was a really interesting, and it was really meant to be strong connection. But the thing that struck me the most about the whole thing, well, there was three things. One, she wasn't 68, she was 88.
Yeah.
And he was 16 years, he was 72.
Hmm.
So that was one thing. And the second thing was they told me the secret was castor oil, which I went home and tried. I went home and tried it. I went home and bought some. I'm gonna look like that and I threw it out after the first day. But the
That's tough.
third thing that struck me, because when I went in, it was her house, and there was pictures everywhere. I mean, like they had their lineage was everywhere, and it was
Mhm.
fascinating. But the third thing that struck me was the reverence that this son had for this mother.
Mhm.
I mean, it was like so pronounced. Like he never said anything. He didn't have to.
Mhm.
He was there to assist her. She didn't need it. And she
Mhm.
told him, I don't need you here. Like
Mhm.
I'm making this decision. I think it was for a roof call. And but yeah, I remember that. I remember that. San Antonio is a special place. I think Austin's a special place.
Yeah, San Antonio was fascinating for me because there was so much action.
Yeah.
It was action, and I wasn't fitting in, and they wasn't fitting in. They had their own fit in,
Yeah.
and so I was there anyway. No, I don't go on that
What,
tangent.
I never ask anybody this. I'm 60 years old. I was born December 1961. How old are you?
I'm 65.
Okay, you're 65. I figured you
I
were older, but you look 10 years younger than me. And I just knew.
ah,
Oh, hell, I'm not kidding.
you can't judge a book by the cover.
Yeah. So, but, so, I mean, I find it very interesting though, that I was born in Corpus Christi and the demographics being what they were. And then of course, everything occurring in the late 60s. And then busing. You remember busing in the early
Oh yeah,
70s.
oh yeah.
But I found as I traveled around the country, I lived in Austin. I lived a lot of different places, Chicago, Florida, LA. It wasn't that difficult for me to find frequencies, even though I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what ascension was. I didn't know anything, to find these things in these places. It wasn't something that was easy to find in South Texas or San Antonio or even Austin back in the day. But now, as I have gotten to the point where I'm at now, I realized that it was always there. That it was, to me, a very organic type of
Hmm.
thing, very old, almost primordial.
Hmm.
And I wonder if you have some similar experience, or because obviously
You
you're
know,
drinking the
I've
same
always,
Kool-Aid. Yeah.
yeah, I've always been just like you noticed, and the thing that struck you was the relationship of this son to the older woman,
Mm.
who embodied certain history and stuff like that. I've always been drawn to women of wisdom,
Yeah.
you know, because for one reason, the masculine in so in the structure that we are experiencing is so controlled,
Mhm.
in the sense that he is molded for a purpose. This is he's a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
He's a soldier. He got to get in line, follow orders, or he got to get to work, punch that clock, you know, uh, put in his time and give his attention to the work at hand. And so, to sum it up, my dad was not present. My dad was very present. He supported the household, but he wasn't accessible
Right.
in terms of nurturing.
Right.
He was the container when we got out of line. No, get back in line. He was a provider. But the the women, and this is one thing I think, one point I want to make is that the unwed mothers, or the single mothers, or the divorced mothers, or the widowed mothers, they are empowered. I feel they have, in terms of consciousness and transformation of the appearance of society, it's, I mean, I know they are carrying the burden because they don't have the material support, or the material support is coming from the state. But that extended period of nurturing has some benefits to it, where that feminine is nurturing. But back to the point. So that's why in my post this morning, I was saying shout out to the mothers,
Yeah.
because they I mean, there are a lot of woke women with children, and they're doing a hell of a job in terms of holding against the pressures of conformity,
Yeah.
you know, and with the breakdown of, you know, all of the traditional structures and stuff like that, it's kind of even more difficult. But anyway, yeah, I drew a lot of energy, a lot of wisdom from listening to older women,
Yeah.
to the you know, to the oracles, you know.
That's exactly what they are.
Yeah,
And you
definitely.
know, I
I visit them.
I love music. It's been a lifesaver for me at different times in my life. And one of my favorite artists is Tupac. And I love the body of his work. You know, I love Picture Me Rolling. I love Staring in My Rear View. I mean, I probably danced to that song more than any song in my life. But the two songs that I love the most are Keep Your Head Up, which is
Mm-hmm.
about that single mother, and Dear Mama.
Mm-hmm.
I could,
Both.
like, whatever stream he tapped into. I mean, I'm getting chills right now, but whatever stream he tapped into, well, I think the reason that it appeals to me the way it does is because you probably can't get more alpha than Tupac in the physical reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, even being in that game and really like the traditional man, not even being given a choice, you're going to compete or you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to be able to actually express that truth of what you're speaking about and he was speaking about in those two songs from the perspective in real time in the physicality of someone who's of a man who's in the middle of the jungle, to
Mm-hmm.
me was profound.
Oh yeah.
That was like, if he could see it, you know, because at the time that I was introduced to that music for myself anyway, it was around a little bit before that, but was when I went homeless. And I was having huge struggles as a catalyst for my growth, for my
Mm-hmm.
birth, was from my relationship with the feminine connection. And that was one thing I would always think of because I knew I had to build the bridge or bring equilibrium to these personal feminine connections I had, be it a mother, an ex, or whatever, daughter, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and I didn't know how to get there. But when I was homeless, and I'd had a one of those early, I forget what they call them, iPods, or I forget what they were called, the little ones that held like 25 songs, right? And I would listen to it over and over. Like there was something about I
Mm-hmm.
did, and I knew at a conscious level, if he can do it, I can do it. I remember that, but it captured what you're talking about. He did.
Yeah. There's just such uh deep connection to the divine now. You
Mm,
know, I mean, that's how we land here on earth, you know, and to to understand and acknowledge that and express gratitude is, to me, is the natural order of things. I got this thing about grace and gratitude, you know.
mm.
A lot of people say, well, you know, I willed myself here, you know, I and so
I know where you're going
and
with
so,
this.
you know, that's a paradox.
Yeah.
It's a paradox. So but my thought is that it's not from a dualistic standpoint. It's from a
Mm,
completely unified standpoint,
mhm.
and that there is only one. You know, that there is only the unity in reality
Yeah.
in terms of what underlies and what remains and what encompasses all of the appearances and all of the experiences that and uh, that consciousness is absolute, and it's not divided against itself. It is
Yeah.
it's indivisible. So You know, I hold on to that. I hold on to that. But with the womb, the mother, uh, there's wisdom now. There's
Yeah.
wisdom. There is, and so much of our presence and our power has been mitigated, or not mitigated, but misdirected, because
Yeah.
we don't have that proper relationship. You know, we don't have the regard. You know, for a long time they say, "Oh, women don't even have a soul." Huh?
Shit.
You
Well,
know,
and the crazy thing is, I always draw the analogy or the metaphor of Fred Flintstone or Ralph Cramden on the Honeymooners,
mm-hmm,
and how they would get these ideas, you know, and they would tell their wife, "I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that," and they'd be like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And then they'd go out and do it, and then at the end of the episode, they'd have egg all over their face and their tail between their legs. So, you know, everything that they did, they were allowed to do. And at the end of the day, when the whole tsunami of the experience is washed over them and they've shown their ass and, you know,
mm-hmm,
eaten humble pie, they find themselves in the place they always are and sometimes forget, which is that container that is her,
mm-hmm,
which is
mm-hmm,
mind blowing to me. I mean, that's like, and that came to me in the street. You know, I didn't know what it was, but I found out later. But there would be these times where I would be like, yeah, I understand I am salt, but I'm hurting like a whole bunch of different ways. And I don't know if I can go on. And then I would, you know, of course, third eye or you know, metaphorically wake up in the arms of the mother
mm-hmm,
in that container.
mm-hmm,
So you're invincible. I
mm-hmm,
mean, you know in that moment that there's not a damn thing that you know or don't know that can hurt you,
mm-hmm.
that can kill you. You know, it's just I can't. And again, those are futile words to describe, but
Well,
that's what's yeah that
some of the greatest art is like the Pieta, you know,
yes, yes.
the
I know what you're talking
Jesus
about.
in the arms of Mary, you know,
Yeah,
in his agony, you know, and the mother to the end, the mother in the beginning and the mother to the end, you know.
yeah,
And yeah, so that's one thing that I say, Todd, to you, is that you really are uh, marvelous, you and Morgan, in terms of having that intent. I heard you talk about that intent to show up and to bring Soulogy along, and that I have such a deep affinity for that, because communicating, people talk about shaping the world, communicating and being able to have areas where we can hear each other, where we can
yeah,
listen for the things that activate us, you know,
yeah,
those vibes that that spark our creativity and our DNA, having arenas for that, because the old paradigm disrupts that or
yeah,
spins it into this is just, you know, let's commodify it, or let's, I mean, not to say that that's a dirty word, but that's their whole reason for being,
right.
you know. That's their whole thing, is that this is survival, this is the game, this is where our energy should go, instead
Yeah,
of coming from a standpoint of conscious love,
yeah,
you know. But that's why I say, because that's been one of my little deals. Say, I want to continue. It's like Buckminster Fuller says, "Hey, look, we got everything we need." You know, it's so many the objective appearances is that we're looking away from the abundance
Yeah.
to scarcity that we got to fight over all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just that war economy that keeps our energy, our nervous systems, our sense of identity caught in, ingratitude,
Yeah.
you know.
I
So,
love that gratitude and grace thing. And I love the way you just described what you described, because all of that conflicting and confusing, chaotic, energy that pools, and people talk about vampire energy and whatever, it's all just diverting our focus and our power and our creativity. Yet I think what you're describing and what you've said is absolutely the way it's been, whether you're man, woman, child, don't matter. But now that's changing. And I think, that whole thing about the scarcity and limitation, and, we use a lot of different words, but what's the other side of that? And I think that's kind of what I'm experiencing, and I'm seeing people experience, which is when those threads are no longer attached to us, then not only do we come into this place that is what it is, compassion and all the things that go with all the attributes of the soul. There's another thing. It's the miracle, magical frequency, and things like this happen, or things unexpectedly happen, but they make sense, like little minor miracles becoming commonplace, and I feel this is what's happening, but it doesn't get any airtime other than maybe in individual conversations, which this very well could be, and never seen by anyone live or on a replay, but still it's happening, and the code exchange is happening, and in the micro, macro, an individual is affecting the whole. And that's not just like a cliche or pretty words. It's a fact.
oh yeah.
One soul can change it all. And I know it's hard for us to comprehend a lot of things from the human aspect we're still evolving. But if nothing else, if it's BS or Todd's wrong and he's crazy, that you can affect the whole, at a minimum, you can affect the world that is you. Right?
Yeah, that's sovereignty.
Yeah. So
the creative sovereignty.
do you, I hope this isn't too personal. Are you in a partnership? Are you?
I'm a caregiver. My projection of I guess purpose is way out there.
Yeah.
And so like you and Morgan.
Yeah.
So I'm a caregiver.
Yeah.
I have friends, companions, and family members and stuff like that. But because of I'm not gonna say because of whatever, but that's how I perceive myself.
Yeah.
In my relationship, because I have a masculine strain that says I need to do certain things and I don't need to be diverted
Right.
from those things. And if there's not attunement and alignment,
Right.
then I know how to walk.
Yeah.
My grandmother and my mom and my dad and people, they taught me how to walk.
Yeah.
So we just walking, we walk in each other home.
Yeah. Ram Dass.
So no, I'm not.
No, I get you. I was just curious, but you just, how when you ask, for me anyway, sometimes I'll ask a question and you almost feel stupid because by the time you get it out, you already got the answer. But what I'm saying is, what you just said to me is something that I understand, which is, we talk about divine union frequency, and it, I believe, is misinterpreted that it only be these a singular, let's say, a singular romantic connection.
Mhm.
But it's actually just a weak description at a frequency that we all have. And then I think it's a format, because it only makes sense. How are you going to get to oneness if you can't get it with one other person? So there's
Mhm.
this frequency
Yeah.
that is the God, DNA strand in all of us, or goddess DNA strand that's in all of us, that is our mainstay, right? That is
Yeah.
our kind of like an automatic pilot. And those things can be achieved through connections such as you're describing, both in
Well,
your
I
singular.
believe I believe in that unity,
Mm,
you know. Uh, but sometimes getting to that point is a energetic. So if I put myself in a competition uh, of doing, and my energy flows into doing, accomplishing certain goals. So, and like I say, relying on the means to accomplish those goals. Uh, a lot of times it's easier to get to the goal
yeah,
traveling,
I get you.
and not to say the goal is selfish
Right,
or self-centered. The goal is heart-centered,
right.
but to get to that goal, to get back into that, or which out there in here, that's a it's a very, like you say, a very intimate
Yeah,
relationship. But that
yeah,
intimacy, again, as you understand, it's all within, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's all within. It's that finding that wholeness. And if we, that's one of the reasons I'm excited now, is because there is union, and because there is the openness for it, because there is a coalescing
yeah.
of frequency, whether it's, it appears through many forms
True.
now, not necessarily the constructed uh, paradigms, even in some the esoteric religions that have a, a description.
Right, right.
So I'm my my thing is that we are at a evolutionary uh, point
Yeah,
where it really it's a revolving. I kind of spoke of it, away from fragmentation
yeah,
and nuclear families, where I got my little cubby hole over here and I measure it, and I have a strict boundary where the communal, the private spaces are the major instead of the communal space,
right.
the common space, the commons of the market and of the places where we go sit around the campfire, that I see we should be, and I understand we are shifting, just like with Soulogy, a place where we come together and share what's in our hearts and our minds. And then the young ones, they got some creative energy that I'm concerned about supporting,
Right, right.
because they're gonna do things like that old saying in Christianity. Christ told say, y'all gonna do more than I did,
Yeah, you're
you know?
right. Yeah,
And so with all of the decline and the chaos of vanishing identity, or identity being transformed, and the uncertainty and the fear that generates, and the anger, the disappointment, the sense of betrayal that transformation is causing, uh, that's inevitable. I'm not phased by that. I
yeah,
say, like Buckminster Fuller said, If you want old system out, focus your energy on building something new.
Exactly.
You know, focus your
Exactly.
energy. If that's your heart saying that we can have a beloved community,
Yeah.
let them fight. Let them fight. You know,
Right.
I mean, we're here, and that's not to say we turn away from that. There's plenty. There are plenty of fighters like that, but I don't want my energy looped into that rig thing, like wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling ain't real.
No. But you know, there's a lot of truth to what you said too. How many times have you seen or participated in you know, two boys, two young men, whatever, get into a scrap, and the coach or the teacher or the grandma says, let him go, you know, just let him
Mhm.
go. And I remember in my old corporate career, I had quite a few offices that I'd manage, and occasionally, because each office had two equal managers, one was over sales and one was over production. And every now and then there'd be a cat fight, you know, and I'd have to go down there. And I learned from a mentor that when you go into those situations, you don't go into the situation with just telling them what to do. What you actually do is you put them in a room and let them get it all out.
Mhm.
And I swear to you, to this day, one of the phenomena uh, that I still am in awe of, every single, and it probably happened to me 15 or 20 times, but every single time that I followed that mentor's advice, they would scream and holler at each other, say everything they needed to say, then they'd come out of the room kissing and hugging, you know? So there's a lot of
Mhm.
truth to that. And I think even so, maybe that either not, I don't say specific to, but in this time needed, because of the fact, I'm talking about the masculine now, because of the fact that we, as much as we, and as grandiose as we think we might be, you know, there's a lot of stuff we kept inside because of the way the realm was set up and being in a male body. But um, yeah, that's true. Yeah, let them fight. Let them fight,
Yeah.
because it's going to birth something. Not to go look for a fight. You know, I remember talking to David Icke when he came on the first show, and he said that. He said, you know, uh, I don't look at things as positive and negative or good and bad, which kind of shocked me that he said that. Not that I don't disagree, that I disagree with him, but just coming from him, right? I thought maybe
Yeah.
he might deceive it, but he said it's all information. It's just information, and some of that information makes me feel good, and some doesn't. Uh, I'm not going to be quiet, but I'm not going to go out and look for a fight. But if somebody comes to me, then I'm going to have to, you know, in a moment by moment, case by case, one-to-one basis, decide what my actions will be in that moment. But yeah, it's so let me ask you this last thing. I'd love to get together with you again.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. We'll get together and party sometime.
uh, I was just thinking, I've been wanting to go down to Texas, and there's actually some stuff that we were kind of brewing. If I did go down there, I was thinking trying to put together an event. I saw my sister Dion Duplay in San Antonio. She's on here. I know I've known her for a long time, and quite a few people in the Austin, San Antonio area. And that's such a nice little quadrant, anyway. You know, like uh, right there in the middle. I can't even remember San Marcos area or the other one beneath it. But yeah, to put something together and have a little get together would be nice.
Yeah, there's some good venues, some
Mhm.
outdoor, lots of outdoor stuff, and lots
Yeah,
of conscious people
yeah.
who have hospitality.
Well, we're just going to have to check into that.
I'm yeah, that's we definitely gonna do.
Yeah,
We're gonna do things. I'm glad I had the
let's just wait
opportunity.
till it gets a little warmer. I'm not really into this, man.
Tomorrow, well, it's gonna be cold tonight, but tomorrow, we'll get our summer
I'm
back.
only what? I'm 4.5. I'm about 7 hours from you. 6.5, 7 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, yeah, no doubt. So, man, I love you. You're a beautiful, brave, beloved brother, man. I appreciate being able to, look into your eyes and see the possibilities and also affirm my own trajectory. And it's, I'm really happy to be able to, seriously, I could say, I could list, 6, 7 people that I have been wanting to get on the show, and you were one of them. So I'm like totally blown away, and I'm really grateful. And I just want to say thanks.
Thank you for showing up and sharing your presence. I really appreciate you, and I'm really grateful that you're doing the work, and it's all fun.
Yeah,
It's all
that's right.
fun.
It has to be. It has to be. I've been kind of interacting with my friend Ty Hudnall from Sedona, who's amazing, and he's also a virtuoso on many different musical and sound kind of things. But yeah, I feel like it's time to resurrect the artistic side, and as we move into a greater space of collaboration all the way around. So yeah, let's do it, man. It'll happen.
Take care, brother. I love you.
Love you too, man.
Thanks. I carry you in my heart.
Ditto. Big ass ditto. Take care, Papa Charlie.